Hello everyone, Dr. Siddiqui here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I have joining me my dear colleague, Dr. Crystal Rhea.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're very excited. So you are a third-year family medicine resident?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into the medical field.
So I've always wanted to be a doctor since I was a very little girl, but I think I most realized that I wanted to do it when I was in second grade and I had to have surgery. And so I just became kind of obsessed with the idea of doctors and being a doctor and taking care of people. And it started there, and then it just kind of became the goal that didn't go away.
So what kind of surgery, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a surgery on my hand. I almost cut my finger off.
Ouch. Well,
it still works.
That's great. All right, so let's dive right in. Why family medicine?
So I picked family medicine because I kind of liked everything, but I specifically love the hospital, and I like that as a family medicine doctor, you have the option to work in the hospital and work with patients in an office or go to a nursing home or kind of anything you want to do. You know, you have the opportunity to learn new skills and apply them in any which way you want, whether it's aesthetics or who knows what. But I like that about family medicine. So I felt like it was a good opportunity to avail myself to any new changing educational goal or new goal that pops up in my life.
I agree. I think that's one of the main reasons why I went to family medicine. I noticed that I liked a little bit of everything. So let's talk about being a female in the medical field. Most importantly, being a female physician.
So being a female physician has some of its drawbacks. Often we're overlooked. You know, no matter how many times I can go in a room and say, "Hi, I'm Dr. Crystal Rhea. I'm going to be taking care of you." Oftentimes I'm still asked midway through the conversation, "When is my doctor going to get here? Do you know what time my doctor's going to be here?" And then I'll say, "Oh, I'm your doctor." No, when's my doctor going to get here? So, or, you know, sometimes, you know, you'll go a couple days and see a patient repeatedly and you'll get a phone call later in the afternoon, you know, letting you know that the patient is demanding to see their doctor and they're upset that they haven't seen them yet today.
Sure. I think that's definitely one frustrating aspect of medicine, given that, you know, it's a very male-dominated field, and it has always been that way. So when you think of a doctor, the majority of us, we think of a male as a physician, right? So, but I think that is slowly starting to change. You're starting to see more and more females in the medical field. So let's talk about what are some of the benefits of being a female physician compared to being a male physician.
I know we've talked about this before, but a lot of times being a female physician enables your patients to maybe open up to you a little more.
Absolutely.
It's easier for us to show a patient compassion. I can grab a female's hand and it's never going to be, or most of the time it's not going to be perceived as anything other than giving care. And it's less offensive, and as a female, I have the opportunity to go into someone's deepest, most personal tragedy that's going on. You know, if you have like a rape victim or somebody who's been abused, something like that, they're more likely to tell me than they are my male colleague.
Absolutely, I agree. So that's definitely an upside of you know, being a female in a male-dominated field. All right, so let's talk about what are some of the struggles you've faced as a resident? So have you had certain situations that, you know, your the amount that you were earning as a resident affected you, or any aspect of being a resident affected you negatively or positively?
I'd say definitely the financial aspect. We get paid very little money, which I understand. Like I said earlier, it takes a lot of money to fund a residency or to fund one single resident to go through. So, you know, the fact that we get paid is an upside, you know, compared to in medical school where you're literally piling up debt to get through.
Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. Just to start with, right? And then, you know, the interest on top of that. But then, you know, you have to move to the area because let's face it, how many people get a residency spot near where they're going to medical school and already established? You know, a lot of people have to move across the country or some of us have other obligations. Maybe we had a home in one place that we still have to pay the mortgage on, and we have to go somewhere else for 3 years for residency because that's where we matched.
Yeah.
So that's pretty expensive. I found myself just renting rooms.
I think it's very humbling to be in this field, even though that at times it can be very exhausting. It could be emotionally and physically draining. Watching patients die on your hands. When you initially start residency, you're put in a position where people expect a lot from you, right? You're put in this position where you go from a student to now you're a doctor.
It's overwhelming.
It is very overwhelming, and there's this whole concept of imposter syndrome. It is very true. I've experienced it. I'm sure you have experienced it, and the individuals watching who have gone through this process have, I'm sure, experienced it. So it definitely is daunting, but like you said, at the end of the day, what matters is the impact you're having on these people's lives.
Well, and I don't think it's even just the patients.
Sure.
It's on one another as physicians. And I remember your first death. And I remember you looked like you were hit by a train. You were so overwhelmed by it. And I remember that we all came around you and helped you get through it and recognized, okay, it's the first week. It was like day 3. And it wasn't a great death. It was a bad death.
It was.
Is there a great death? Sometimes actually there is. Sometimes there's the most peaceful thing you've ever seen. But we rallied behind you. You rallied behind us. Medicine is a team sport. So we were talking earlier about how, we often get mistaken for the nurses, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because the nurses are part of our team and we rely on them.
They're a huge part of our team.
Completely.
We wouldn't be able to do our job without the nurses, it's a multidisciplinary team, not just nurses, but the technicians and everybody that is in the hospital plays a role and helps take care of this patient. So even though at times,
we get frustrated with them, they also play a role in burning us out.
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree.
But I think that's why you're doing this. This whole conversation is, what is the purpose of medicine, or how do we all come together and we build off of each other and we keep each other going.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the very first death I had as an intern. I don't think I'll ever forget that. And they say that you'll never forget the first patient who dies on you. And even though this patient wasn't the first patient that died on me, but it was the first time where a patient died on my watch as a physician. I remember taking care of this patient, and when he died after 20 minutes of trying to resuscitate him, and finally we called it the time of death and pronounced him dead. I remember walking out of the ICU and you were there, and I went into a full-blown panic attack. I couldn't breathe because it's hard to separate yourself from. In that instant, you as a physician think that
it's your failure.
It's your failure. It impacts you so much that I had never experienced that type of disappointment in myself. I thought that I failed myself and everyone around me by letting, by this death.
By not preventing.
Absolutely. And I remember I had never felt a panic attack in my life. And that was the moment where I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. And I had the rest of the day to take care of the rest of the 7 or 8 other patients I had. And, there are times that you just have to, you do whatever you got to do. I let my emotions out. I went to the restroom, I washed my face, and I went back to work. To kind of recap, we talked a lot about different topics, some heavy topics, some not so heavy topics. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with Dr. Crystal Ray. I think this was very informative. I definitely enjoyed our conversations. for anyone that is interested, whether it be in the medical field, if you want to go into, becoming a doctor or a physician assistant. These are our experiences, raw experiences that we would like to share with you and get your input. So stay tuned.
And subscribe.